First tonight, Donald Trump has insisted there's no hold-up in talks on reaching a ceasefire in Gaza after the latest round of indirect negotiations between Israel and Hamas ended without a breakthrough. The US president was speaking as he hosted a dinner in Washington with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. At the same meeting, both leaders spoke about potential plans to relocate Palestinians from Gaza. Mr. Trump said countries neighboring Israel were cooperating. Earlier, Israel's defense minister laid out plans to eventually move all Gazans into a camp built on the ruins of the southern city of Rafah.
Bibi, why don't I let you answer that question?
Mr. President,
wait a minute. Wait, he's got to answer the question.
I think President Trump had a brilliant vision. It's called free choice. You know, if people want to stay, they can stay. But if they want to leave, they should be able to leave. It shouldn't be a prison. It should be an open place and give people a free choice. We're working with the United States very closely about finding countries that will seek to realize what they always say, that they want to give the Palestinians a better future. And those who, and I think we're getting close to finding several countries, and I think this will give, again, the freedom to choose. Palestinians should have it, and I hope that we can secure it close by.
In the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, what's currently the holdup?
I don't think there is a holdup. I don't think there's a holdup. I think things are going along very well. They just, left each other, and it was not a pleasant period of a few days. It was a little longer than a few days, but this was not a pleasant.
Donald Trump and before him Benjamin Netanyahu. So how close are we to a ceasefire deal in Gaza? Well, for more on this, I'm joined now on the line from London by the international affairs analyst, Dr. Marek. Lasciewicz. Good to see you, Dr. Lasciewicz. Let me just start by what we heard there from Netanyahu and Trump about potential plans to relocate Palestinians from Gaza. How do you interpret that?
Well, it has been a long-standing goal of Israel to occupy all those lands properly. And from that point of view, this is a step further in their drive, which, of course, from the Palestinian point of view, is the exact opposite of what they want, is to occupy all the lands that Israel has. So here we have diametrical goals. The point is that Israel, with US support, are present as the military might, not only to occupy Gaza, but also to push people around, which is what they've been doing. And the question is, can they push them out of the country? The Israelis have said it's going to be a free choice. And if these Gazans do not take that choice, the question is, what are they going to do? It should be borne in mind that ethnic cleansing, which is what this is a type of, if the local population does not agree, results in difficult times for everybody, and that this is what is most likely on the cards. And so that therefore, if this is merely hot air as a negotiating ploy, well, then no harm will come of it. If, on the other hand, there is an element of coercion, albeit indirect, by bombing the Gazans, then this most likely will not work, or will at least produce very big problems. And it depends to see whether the USA and Israel will be able to force the issue.
Well, given your assessment there, do you think in the circumstances a ceasefire is likely this week?
At present it's still early in the week, and so the answer is yes, it is possible. Both Hamas and Israel in principle have agreed this, in the sense they've agreed to some sort of negotiating in terms. Therefore, in that respect, we're looking at the end part of the negotiations. The key problem is what happens afterwards, and this is quite clearly no decision. So now the question is, will Hamas agree and Israel just to the ceasefire per se? Israel certainly would agree with it, I think, from what's been said. Hamas is still trying for a more longer-term solution. And in that respect, being told that they might be relocated outside of Gaza is not going to help.
Indeed, and Hamas would also, of course, like a permanent ceasefire, and even the Israelis concede that the IDF is exhausted at this point. I mean, why is Israel reluctant to accept that, given that surely there isn't much else left for Israel to hit in Gaza, given how much it's pommeled the enclave?
Yeah, there are three reasons. First is personal. Netanyahu depends upon two parties which have made it quite clear they do not want Hamas to survive. As long as Hamas is called Hamas and so survives, they're not going to be satisfied. So in that sense, the war goes on. Secondly, it has been a goal of some Israelis, that is to say a Zionist goal, of dealing with Gaza once and for all, which is, of course, if you like, a long-term process, starting from when the first these first Israelis arrived. And that therefore, in this sense, they don't want a ceasefire, they want a total win. And the third one is, as long as Hamas espouses the destruction of Israel, then obviously Israelis feel threatened. So for all three reasons, it's unlikely that will in fact agree to a truce. They're worried that Hamas will simply regroup and try again. So from this point of view, a truce, which is what Hamas is seeking, is at present unlikely. The ceasefire is difficult but possible. The truce is, not as it stands, not possible.
Well, I mean, Donald Trump has said he wants the war to end. Given that it is the US that supplies Israel with all the weaponry it needs, I mean, surely Benjamin Netanyahu has to do what Donald Trump is asking him to do.
Yeah, the problem here is that Donald Trump isn't looking for a two-state solution. He's not looking for Gazans to stay. For example, the meeting which you've just reported on seems to make it quite clear that Donald Trump wants to ethnically cleanse Gaza. So although what he means by peace is total surrender by the Gazans, and as this is unlikely that Hamas will agree to it, or even if a group wasn't called Hamas, or in fact the Gazans would agree to it as a people, irrespective of Hamas, no peace will occur. Here the word peace, of course, it should be realized, has different meanings for different people. In the strict sense of no fighting, then there will be a short lull. I think that will certainly be negotiated. But afterwards, quite what peace emerges, assuming any, is another matter.
So just to summarize, Dr. Lasciewicz, the major sticking points, as far as you're aware, is that essentially Hamas is still holding out for the demands that it presented to the negotiators, which Israel is not inclined to agree to.
Quite right. But Hamas wants a peace treaty, ideally a two-state. Well, not ideally. In practical terms, they would agree with the two-state. Ideally, they would like Israel to be wiped off the map. Israel, for its turn, does not want any of this. It wants, ideally, the Gazans to leave. Here we have diametrical opposites. There can be no easy peace treaty, if any. But as for the ceasefire, assuming Hamas and Israel just agree for a temporary lull, that could go forward. But if Hamas wants to make it into a permanent peace treaty, there will be no ceasefire. So it depends on what terms Hamas, if only to save face, is prepared to, at least temporarily, withdraw its demand for a permanent peace treaty. Then there will be a ceasefire.
On that note, I want to thank you very much indeed, Dr. Marek Lasciewicz, the international affairs analyst, talking to me on the line from London.